Hello everyone, and today it is the Kill Team Compendium in 2024. 2 years later after release and a suspected 7 months left in this edition of Kill Team, and still there are questions every day in Discords, Reddit, Facebook asking about Compendium. Is it worth the money? Is it good? Which teams are good, etc. And so here I want to take a look at Compendium Kill Team in 2024. And this will end in a Compendium tier list where I explain why each faction is in each tier to help you develop an idea of why they might be strong. For the new players just looking to pick it up, I will start with a quick WTF is Compendium and answer the basics. And for the more advanced players after covering the basics, I'm going to shout out a few perhaps sleeper teams, because it's always fun to take a fresh look at the old rules with new knowledge or eyes. One of those. Whatever you use to look, I guess. Let's start with the basics. What is the Compendium, and is it worth purchasing at this advanced stage of Kill Team? Firstly, Kill Team Compendium is itself a great product with really nice internal balancing and will provide a great gaming experience. As like a closed product, closed environment game. Frankly, you never need to progress onto the specialised teams to enjoy the breadth of Kill Team. And if you're coming over from 40k, as a lot of people are because that system sucks balls, then the Compendium uses your faction's basic troops. No more model purchases needed. And let's be clear, as with all books from Games Workshop, you should not purchase the physical copy. Do not do it. You should use the digital rules by typing into Google free Kill Team Compendium rules and clicking that fifth link that looks awfully similar to Wikipedia. But I really do want to drive this point home, okay, while I still have your attention. I'm all in on supporting Games Workshop. If we don't buy the products we like, they will stop making the products we like. That goes for every company that we like the products of. The Compendium is good, but it is not at this point in Kill Team's life cycle worth spending money on. It has been errated and FAQ'd. In the Compendium, you have all of the 40k main factions covered, and you build your Kill Team by putting together 2 fire teams, or only 1 fire team if you're vanilla Space Marines. A fire team is a block of models. It could be as few as 2 Custodes or as many as 8 Poxwalkers. Typically, they will all include a line of text saying, if you don't have a leader, make one of these a leader, and one can be a gunner. Nice and simple list building. Again, if you play 40k, you already have all the models you need. Oh, and if you don't play 40k and are looking at buying the Compendium, every basic fire team is half a box of the faction's main troop choice, pretty much. So if you run 2 of the same fire teams, that will be 1 whole box and you're in and playing. Honestly, a very consumer-friendly approach. No complaints. Kill Team is designed around 1 box and you're playing. In the specialist teams, this remains true. In the Compendium, you just need to make sure you buy the correct 1 box for your faction. Now, you might have read Fire Team and thought to yourself, yes, Glass, we get it. They've called it a fire team, but how many points is each fire team? Yes, I have seen threads on Reddit and comments below my videos where I explain these things, where despite people explaining the system, the poster replying and kind of hand waving away the answers they're given and just asking but where are the points and how can you have list building without points? What points level should I be playing Kill Team at? I see that a lot. Kill Team doesn't use a points system. Very simply, you take as many fire teams as it tells you as you can, which for every faction except Space Marines, that means you take 2 fire teams, whilst Space Marines take 1 fire team. Simple. I know I am literally repeating what I've just said, but I've made exactly this type of video before and explained list building, and the comments say they don't understand the list building. It's really as simple as it looks. Do what the rules say, not what you are expecting the rules to say. Don't worry though, sirs. This is a very well balanced game, and very clearly there is a point system that the designers have used to create some sort of algorithm for stat weighting, but it's not something the players need to see. So for us, there's no points. Can you tell I have tried my absolute best to avoid saying it's a pointless system? What can I say? I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm maturing, I'm getting wholesome. Because then some would take that as a negative joke, and I would never be so unwholesome, ever, sirs. No jokes here, just straight facts and raw sauce. Any form of personality is obviously a detraction. Mechanical facts are my jam, nothing else. Anyway, that's kind of the basics of the Compendium for those that don't know what the Compendium is, okay? A great book giving every 40k faction options, well balanced internally amongst each other, and available for free online. Ish. You know what I mean. Before getting to the tier list, we need a quick note on the losers of the Compendium, right? Because I'm going to throw the tier list up in a moment, and you're going to say, what does that mean? Of course, though, before we get into that, I would like to give a subscriber-only benefit, and that is a big double hello. Very wholesome if you'd like some wholesomeness, double pleasantries in your life, like, sub, comment, and that can be yours. Also, if you're really picking up what I'm putting down, I do have a Patreon. It's really just a glorified tip jar at this point, but you will get a cool coloured name in my Discord, and at certain tiers digital goodies like data card templates, my objective markers, and a new addition recently of an STL file so you can print out your own GHD themed activation tokens. Oh, and I put out like a whole load of extra videos, but they're all a bit more chill, plus a bunch of unedited bat reps for the diehards. I've also begun a monthly glass half rants, and it's pretty unhinged, so thanks. Losers of Compendium. Right. The losers are easy, and they must be pointed out. 3 of them are banned from tournament play. Yeah, because they have been superseded by their specialist team variants. Those are the Harlequin Troop, the Thousand Suns, and the Forge World. Not to worry if if those are your 40k factions, because the specialist teams for them were White Dwarf releases, and again, no new models will be required. It's all basic troops, maybe an HQ. Cool. And frankly, you can play those specialist teams and just not use the specialist rules, and they play like a Compendium team, and it's great. Yeah. Anyway, that brings us into the tier list section of the video. Let's bring the tier list up. How do I do that? Bam. Wow. Amazing. Where am I on the script is the real question, though. I also want to point out that to new players that Kill Team is very much a skill-based game. Your decisions have a very large impact on the game. It should be called Skill Team, and quite how no one has taken that as a channel or podcast name, I don't know. Every faction could beat any other faction, but in general, the skill of the player will carry the day. But some teams are definitely stronger than others, and there is an element of rock, paper, scissors to the teams, except that is generally dictated by damage thresholds, because although there are no points in Kill Team, there is still an underlying balance system obvs. Just because Team X is in the bottom tier does not mean it cannot beat Team Y in one of the other not bottom tiers. And Team Z might be a generally weak team, so goes in the bottom tier, but actually have the perfect damage threshold to counter Team W in the top tier. In Kill Team, you are playing your opponent before you are playing their faction. But, obviously, some factions are still pretty damn good. But I don't want you to get disheartened by seeing a faction you like in a lower tier. The balance within Compendium and Kill Team in general is honestly very close. So the separations in tiers is tiny and done more to help newer players visualize general power levels than them being hard and fast definitive tiers. Let's dive in. Let's also lean this way as I talk so that I'm not cucking myself hard. Here we see the tier list I've thrown up. I've ordered power levels as the highest of the tier is on the left. Yes, that's your left, hopefully. Closer to the numbers is the highest tier. Yeah, there you go. That makes sense, right? I also deliberately removed a middle tier. So I think a lot of people, when making a tier list, have that middle tier. and it's used as a way to sit on the fence and be super vague without saying anything. But by removing it, saying everything needs to be either slightly above or slightly below forces you to make a definitive statement. Also, as I mentioned earlier, some of these might be a bit higher in tier than you expect, and that's because life is crazy. I shall explain when we get to them. Long story short, A tier is the top of the top. None of this S tier bollocks. Don't know what that is. S for super, great, well done. A for awesome, boom, wow, oh, I blew your rating system out of the water. Look, everyone knows the A tier is strong. It's not even a debate at this point. These are the teams that if you want to play a Compendium team in a tournament, look at these first, as they can all, I'm going to say, hold their own. Yeah, hold their own. B tier I consider my most controversial, as I imagine most people would rate these teams a bit lower perhaps, but we'll get to those. These are all solid teams that can hold their own, and a skilled player in this tier will easily beat the A tier teams with raw outplaying goodness. But in the grand scheme of things, we're definitely falling out of being able to do well in regular tournaments, if we're being honest, you know. C tier are an interesting mix, but we see the lethality of the team start to fall off, and so naturally games start to get a lot more dice dependent. Still some great teams here though. Finally is the D tier, with some of the teams that are going to struggle. Now, it's not that they have nothing going for them. All of them do have their strengths, and it's best to keep in mind that I already stressed, which is that the actual, power spread of these teams isn't that large. A few lucky rolls and that Necron shooting will delete a Custodes team, for example. Okay, right. 16 factions, so I'm going to keep this quick and just tell you kind of the one big hint as to why that team is where it is. Talons of the Emperor are top tier for two reasons. Firstly, is their raw stats. Everything is hitting on 2s, saving on 2s, and has 18 wounds. Then they have the tack ploy that allows them to interweave activations, which makes them amazing on Into the Dark. Plus, and I'm saying a third thing now, so great, good job me, good counting. Plus, they are able to take a fight or overwatch at the end of the turn, which just makes them very activation efficient. Okay? Super strong. Also, do note, if you're reading from the Compendium, you will see they are 4 APL. This is one of the teams that got super hardly nerfed. They are now 3 APL. Huge difference. This is why you should be using online rules. Don't buy the book. Hive Fleet are a phenomenal team. I recently put up 2 battle reports for my patrons with them. 10 Gene Stealers are super easy to play, and literally no team in the game can ignore that threat. And then there's a fun twist, 6 Tyranid Warriors. It's a great team because they are durable and killy, but because there's only 6 of them with 2 APL, every activation can decide the game, so it's a real puzzle team. If you can figure out the best order of operations, you win. Scions are a team of hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, double plasma, lots of special weapons. 2 of them are APL 3. Just a solid team to learn the core basics of the game on, because you do a lot of things very reliably. I once got tabled by Scions without failing a single save roll. That's how much AP this team brings. Comrite are up here because they have the most maneuverable special weapons in the game in the form of the Blaster and Shredder. Indeed, the Blaster shreds and the Shredder blasts. Terribly named guns. You could take 2 of them, so you can play Fleet, so they get a free dash, and you can power from pain to give them an extra APL and be able to shoot twice. That's right, you have a 4 APL model with a full range AP2 5/6 damage gun that can shoot twice. Literally deletes a Custodes in one shot, and you get 2 of them. It's mental. Finally, for the A tier, we have Death Guard, who are good because they have a team-wide 5-up feel no pain. Yeah. This basically makes them 6 models with 18 wounds. That's real good. However, it is of course very swingy due to dice rolls. If your opponent rolls some 5-ups, you just don't kill them. And if they don't roll 5-ups, they get mushed. We then go into the B tier. The Demons are a threat to anyone, and they're easy to play. 12 models, all with power weapons and 9 wounds. Great thresholds. Again, there is no team that can ignore the threat of 12 bloodletters. Your opponent will be sweating. Ecclesiarchy are a solid team that when you run them as just 10 Battle Sisters. so that's the troop box. 10 power armor saves is really nice. This team is Hearthkin salvagers, but trades a bit of firepower for extra movement. That's it. Hearthkin suck though. Easily comparable to a specialist team, but hit on 3s natively. Not bad. Brood Coven, for a brief time back in the early days of this edition, were one of the best factions thanks to Cult Ambush. But then we simply didn't know how to deal with a whole team that could go loud turn 1, especially when you had 14 models. Now, honestly, all I can see when looking at this team is 10 Metamorphs who get 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 4-6 balanced, brutal, rending. You kill a Space Marine in a single 6, thanks to rending, and you can fish for that crit, thanks to balanced, and you can't be parried out because of brutal. That's not bad. Grey Knights, however, are a great team due to consistency. Everything you attack with has relentless, because you never take heavy weapons, just to clarify. you always take falchions. Getting to reroll everything means that even their regular bolter will have results. It'll kill hordes or chip elites, and they have the forgotten relic of Compendium Marine teams activating on death. You can't fight, but even when injured, relentless means you're getting work done. We then drop down to the C tier, where everything has a much clearer counter, but if their main thing works, then you'll be in for a bit of a shock. Greenskins have like the second highest pool of health in the game, for example. They're a real DPS check team that you have to deal with before you get to scoring objectives, because if you push into the middle board, they have really good melee. Traitor Space Marines have some interesting tricks, namely, you can forward deploy cultists onto enemy objectives and immediately tap them. Oh, who would have guessed that forward deploys are good? Oh, I wonder if we've recently had a bunch of tournament results that have implied that correlation. And then the Marines, of course, get Veterans of the Long War as a nice little trick, where if their attack doesn't deal any damage, they get to just go again. It's great. Now, this picture is of TAC Marines, Intercessors and Scouts. In truth, TAC Marines and Intercessors can go D tier. But really, you'd only play Specialist Team Intercession, not the point. But Scouts are still holding their own, even though the new Scout team is out. Compendium Scouts aren't bad. Have you ever looked at their stats? 10 models, shotguns are 4-4 hitting on 2s, then you take 2 missile launchers, 3 snipers. It's amazing. Deathwatch. 4 plasma equivalent weapons, access to shields and power weapons. The only bad thing about this team is that they didn't get a specialist team, which in fairness does seem like a bit of a war crime, but whatever. Craftworld used to be considered the worst team in the game, in Compendium as well, but in the game as in general. But a balance update gave each of their fire teams 1 additional operative. Oddly, 2 extra models made them really rather good. Just don't try and melee with them. Never take that. There you go. It's a ranged faction. Then we go into the D tier and we start with the Kroot. They are the best of the worst purely because of the number of models on the board, but they're not good. They're not bad, but they're not good. They're definitely not good. Necrons, however, have access to solid shooting and decent melee, but they're just slow, and you don't get enough models to really be good, you know? Finally, we have Tau from the Compendium, and they don't have any way to overcome their poor ballistic skill, which is a bit of an issue. And the All Stealth Suits list doesn't have the durability to play the game of chess kill team like that Tyranid Warriors can, despite being 6 models, 2 APL2. And so have to attack, and as soon as they get tabled. Yeah. And that's a full review and tier list to help new players get started in 2024. Hope you enjoyed, and if you've made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big thank you in the form of a triple hello. And we can take that tier list down so I can sit normally again. Lovely. Many thanks, and if you like what I'm doing here and want to see more of me in general, in generally far less scripted environments, consider checking me out on Patreon. Keep it polite, keep it compendium. Bye bye.